they don't want to commit? Because you give the milk away for free. Save yourself. Be wholesome, be healthy, be pure, be modest.
So that right there is an example of respectability politics. For more on that, let's go to the research. I'm Dr. Shauna, a PhD who does hot takes with citations, and this is part 6 in my series, The Words That Shape Us. The concept of respectability politics, or the politics of respectability, was first articulated by a historian, Evelyn Brooks Higginbotham, in her work from 1993, Righteous Discontent. In the book, she describes how Black women in the late 19th and early 20th century navigated racism by emphasizing decency, morality, modesty, and moral behavior. Not because they believed it would end racism, but because it was one of the few strategies available for community protection and survival. Over time, however, this idea has been distorted. So instead of being recognized as a tactic to use within oppression, it has become a standard used to judge the oppressed themselves. The respectability politics show up whenever someone says that marginalized groups of people should behave better, especially when behaving better is the threshold that is set in order to be deserving of dignity, safety, and rights. Because it shifts the responsibility away from discrimination and people in power onto the oppressed group. So here are a few examples. People rushing to defend police violence by scrutinizing people's clothing, their tone, or their past. Critiques of welfare recipients' hairstyles, nails, or parenting. LGBTQ plus people being told to be quiet or not so in your face. And women told to dress a certain way in order to avoid harassment. Black feminist scholars like Brittany Cooper and Patricia Hill Collins also point out something very important, that respectability politics promises a protection that it can never deliver. Because racism, sexism, and homophobia aren't caused by a lack of politeness. So why is this something that matters? Well, first, respectability politics reinforces the idea that equality is something that you earn through good behavior, instead of it being something that you're just owed as a human being. Demand hides the real source of harm. If we're able to blame individual, marginalized people for not meeting some standard of behavior, then we don't have to look at or interrogate these larger systems of power. Systems that are responsible for producing that inequality in the first place. A brief reminder that this series is intended to be a working glossary, so please put your questions, your lived experiences, your pushback into the comments below. Follow for more hot takes with citations and stay tuned for part 7 in this series.